stuff going on that's crazy and I can't figure it out. And because Tom is here, I've got the glasses on. John, I've got your glasses on.
There
Don't
you
I look
go.
Don't I look all... Oh my gosh. Louise, you're the only one not wearing glasses. I was just trying to fit in. She's like, oh, get my... We're all gonna have glasses now. And I've got this big, I think that says I'm running out of time. I've got this big, all right. Anyway, I'm going to share with you two poems because they're longer, so I'll only read two, not three, from the current issue of Down in the Dirt magazine. It's volume 173. It's the July 2020 issue, and it's called Gone Fishing. Anywho, it's a cool book, and because somebody had written about Mary Shelley, I included this poem in it. And it was written on the anniversary of the day, December 30th of 1816, the day that the English Roman poet Percy Bysshe Shelley married his second wife, Mary Godwin, who later was the author of Frankenstein. So this is about her. So this is a poem called Until They Talked of Galvanism. It may seem like a tempestuous life, but I'm sure it wasn't her intention. She just so happened to fall for one of her father's followers, a married man. But Percy Bysshe Shelley was a poet, a great one, and she was intrigued. And despite him being married, he was estranged from his wife. So he felt he had free rein to frolic with a girl 5 years younger than him. Mary even left France with him, with her sister too, to travel Europe. And by the time they returned, Mary was pregnant with Percy's baby. Yes, his wife was still in the picture, but Mary and Percy didn't seem to care and were penniless and ostracized by society, even though the death of their premature baby 2 years later, it was actually they were worried about after getting out of debt and then giving birth to a baby boy. They traveled together to Geneva in the summer, this time to visit poet Lord Byron. And during their stay, it constantly rained, so they couldn't even enjoy the outdoors and found themselves forced to stay indoors, sitting around a log fire telling each other German ghost stories, until Lord Byron suggested they should all hold a contest for creating the scariest story. And they all thought they had great ideas. And Mary, in the company of two great poets, she even told Lord Byron that her name was Mary Shelley, even though they weren't even married. But then she was mortified that she might not be able to write something as good as her poetic company. And some of them would then tell their stories. And really, they were just poetic verse that wasn't actually scary at all. They kept asking Mary what her story was, and she kept saying, it's not ready yet. And she would listen to the poets talk about all the issues of the day and look for inspiration, until they talked of galvanism, the concept of reanimating a corpse. And that night, in a waking dream, she came up with a story and furtively wrote Frankenstein. Now, they loved her story, and shortly after they returned, she discovered that Percy Shelley's wife, Harriet, actually committed suicide. But the dark times led to their marriage, as well as the eventual release of a story of Frankenstein, the scientist who tried to reanimate the dead. Because her mother died just after she was born, Mary Shelley was used to seeing death. So when it was suggested to her that she should write a scary story, she'd find a way to bring the death back to life. Scary weird to hear how they actually come up with the stories. Yeah, Tom's giving me the yay, good for you. Thank you very much. And by the way, I'll do this after the poetry. I've got one more, and this is actually related to July for you. It was written for July 4th, and it is called Key, Imprisonment, and Poetry. It's not like we got our independence free and clear when Jefferson finished editing the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, because the British don't take defeat so lightly. It didn't matter that the USA enacted their Constitution and had multiple terms from 4 presidents, because freedom isn't free, and the Brits so hold grudges. They took the battle to our shores in what we call the War of 1812. Now, at one point, the lawyer Francis Scott Key found out from his brother-in-law that the Honorable Dr. Beans was taken hostage by the British. Now, this Dr. Beans was a straight-up righteous guy, so Key went to President Madison to tell him. Yes, he actually went to the president, and he said that he had to get Beans back. Madison set up Key with a man named Skinner, and they went to the British on their boat, and they'd talk and they rationalized and schmoozed until the Brits said they'd return Beans to them. But as the English and the Americans on this boat were commiserating and being all friendly and all, Key and Skinner overheard the British talking about how they were planning to attack Baltimore the next week. They even had maps and plans all drawn out that Key and Skinner could see. This freaked out the British, so once they realized that they had revealed their plans, so the Brits decided to keep Key and Skinner and Beans hostage, so they couldn't reveal the British attack plans on America. The British held them hostage for a full week, and as they waited in their cell, the British would taunt them and say things like, "I hope you take a good look at that precious U.S. flag of yours on that hill, because soon it'll be gone." And when September 13th, 1814 came, the attack began on Baltimore with mass fire, many cannon bombings, Fort McHenry, and Francis Scott Key stayed up all night to watch the suspenseful horrors. When Skinner and Beans woke up, they asked, "Is the flag still there?" Dawn light breaks, the smoke clears, and after all of a sudden, Francis Scott Key sees the giant U.S. flag still waving in the wind over Fort McHenry. "Yes, it sure is," he responded. And he was so overwhelmed by the emotion of the moment that he then just started to write a poem about it. Eventually, the Brits let them free, and free from their captors, Key worked the whole first night finishing his poem. So the next day he asked his brother-in-law to come and read this poem because it was something he really needed to share. When his brother-in-law saw the poem, he said, "This is the best poem ever." And then he thought, "Well, wait, we have to publish this now, like right now." So then he thought, wait a minute, we should be able to put this to a melody, to Anacron in Heaven, that British drinking song. So they distributed this song to people, and people in the town would try to sing it. "Oh, say, can you see?" And the more people saw it, the more people thought that this melody could actually work. Eventually, this song ended up becoming an amazing hit. A poem from a man held captivity on a British ship, waiting to see if the U.S. flag would survive through the night. One man wrote a poem about it, and as a joke to Britain, they sang this poem into a convoluted British drinking song, making this poem an in-your-face, that the U.S. will always prevail.
Oh, good story.
So those were...
And true.
and we do what we can, exactly. So yeah. I should give myself my little pittance applause. Yay.
Definitely.
Yippee, skippy, pittance applause. It says that in...